Hi, this is the first video introducing you to Word. If you were to log into your Canvas, we will be in the module that says Word Part 1. And you saw in the videos folder where you're looking up this video, where you found this video, that there was a lecture notes file. Go ahead and open that up if you haven't already. When you click on that or download it and open it up, it should look something like this. Each week when I do a lecture video, there'll be some kind of file like this to go with it. And so you can follow along on your own computer as I do it. So what I'd like you to do as you watch these videos is to pause the video every once in a while when it makes sense for you and try the things that I'm going to do. That way you have practice and that way you're not just watching me do it the whole time. In this week's videos, we'll be covering a few of the tabs up along Microsoft Word. And that's how I've split this Word, learning the Word software up into the various tabs. So I'll have a video on each one of these tabs. This week, we will be covering some basic functions. That's what this video is. The next video will be on the Home tab, which is right here. Then we'll do the View tab, the Mailings tab, the Review tab, and the File tab, which brings you into a different menu. In the next week, we'll cover the rest. So I'll have a short video for each one of these 6 tabs. That way you can just watch one video at a time. And after you've watched all 6 of these videos, then go ahead and take the quiz. Now, just to let you know, in this class, we're not going to be covering every single button that you see. I'm going to cover all the buttons that I think are going to be useful to you as some kind of, as a technician or working in the electronics or computer networking field, that I found useful to myself when I was working in the field. I've used this software quite a bit, so I'm going to share with you all the things that I've learned that I found that were very useful to me. This first video, the basic functions, is definitely a good example of that. One thing I would suggest throughout this whole course, if you can, is if you have a second monitor to plug in to your computer to have 2 screens, I would highly recommend that. It would be a lot easier to have maybe the video going in one screen and your file up on your other screen. If it's possible, I'd recommend thinking about doing that as an idea. All right, so as we scroll down this video, like I said, will be on the basics. So we're going to just go through these lines right here. These are kind of my lecture notes to myself, and I thought, might as well just give them to you guys, and you can use them and try to do the same thing I'm doing. So some of these things you may already know. This is some basic stuff, and like I said before, hopefully I'm going to give you a lot more than just the basics in this class. Get your money's worth out of it. So let's start. The first thing it says to do is Alt plus Tab. If you've never tried this before, if you hold the Alt key down on your keyboard and then click on the Tab button, it can choose between the different windows that you have open. And you can see I have 6 different windows open, so it's easy to switch back and forth like I'm doing right now by holding Alt Tab, and you can switch between maybe your file and this video. And every time you press the Tab key, it goes over to the next file. So that's some useful thing for a lot of people. So like I said, that kind of thing, you might want to pause the video and try it now if you haven't. The next thing is shaking windows. This is only true in Windows 7, I believe, and higher. If you grab the top of the window and shake it, notice it minimized all of the other windows. That's maybe useful for you. There's a little button down here in the bottom right. I have to move my face out of the way. Right here, you can't even tell that it's a button, but there's a button right there. If you press that, it minimizes all of the all of your windows. And the reason I believe they put it there is it's really easy to just drag your mouse over the bottom right corner and click really quickly to minimize everything. So that way you don't even have to find the button. It's just bottom right click. If you don't already know this as well, try holding the control button down on your keyboard and then using the scroll button on your mouse, if you have one, scroll in and out. It's the best way I've found to zoom in on documents and zoom out on documents. This also works on most other platforms like the internet. I could zoom in and zoom out. And again, I'm holding the control button down and then using the wheel on my mouse to scroll. All right. Another feature I love, I've probably found, since Windows 7 came out, that I found to be really useful is sometimes you want to organize your pages a little bit better. And so if you grab the top of a window like this and drag it all the way to the right, it makes it half the size of the page. And then you can click on another one of your open windows and it'll make each one half the size. So this will be super useful for you in this class if you're trying to, say, work on a lab. Your lab instructions are on the left side of the screen and then your actual file you're working on is on the right side of the screen. Same thing, you can drag this up to the left and it would make that half the size of the screen as well. So that's something really useful. You can also just double click on the window heading and it'll maximize it. Next, copy and paste. Yes, there are buttons up here for copying and pasting, but you will use copy and paste enough to memorize the shortcut keys. So if I want to copy this line, I'll highlight it, and then you hold down Control, and then you hold down the C to copy, and then you click down below and hold down Control and press V to paste it. Pretty basic stuff. Even more important than copying and pasting is the undo. When you make a mistake, there's always this button up here to undo something you did wrong, but I make so many mistakes. I've memorized Control Z. Control Z undoes whatever you just did. So Control Z, Control C, Control V are the three hotkeys you want to memorize. And again, it is up here, but it's definitely the good thing to memorize. One of the things that you might want to do from time to time is, move one line down below. You've probably done this before, where you want to highlight a line and then grab it, drag it up. But sometimes you want to do that with multiple lines that aren't in a row. So what I'm saying is you can highlight these 3 lines and then drag all 3 lines down. But what if you only want to highlight this line and this line? What button do you use to highlight just those 2? It's the Control button. So if you hold Control down and then highlight that, you can then drag those 2 lines, or you can copy and paste just those 2 lines. So I will try to copy and paste those. So I'm going to press Control C, and then I will paste them up here. And notice it only copied those 2 lines. So sometimes you might want to do every other line for whatever reason. You just hold the Control button down, do that. Similarly, delete this. Similarly, you may want to highlight everything, for many, many pages. And so that's, yes, you can highlight it and just kind of scroll down throughout the document, but you can also just go all the way to the bottom, hold the Shift key, and while you're holding the Shift key, click, and it'll highlight everything in between the end of where you started and ended. Another thing I should mention is when you cut, rather than copy an article. So if I were to take this line right here and copy it, Control C, notice nothing happens except storing this text in memory. But if you cut it, that would be Control X, it deletes it, but it also stores it in memory so you can use it again when you paste it. Sometimes you want to copy something and delete it at the same time. So that's what you would call cutting. That's the difference between a cut and a copy. They both copy, but the cut actually removes as well. And the shortcut key for that you can see in the corner is Control X. One of the most useful things you'll do in Word is, for me, is using a thesaurus. So there's another shortcut key I use, Shift F7. So if I want to find a synonym for a word, meaning a word that's the same but different, means the same thing but a different word, you can press Shift and then F7, and the function key F7, not the letter F and the number 7. So press Shift F7, and that brings up the thesaurus. And it shows instantly if I highlighted this word thesaurus and pressed Shift function key number 7, which is above the numbers, it'll bring up the thesaurus. And so what's a similar word to thesaurus? Vocabulary, lexicon, glossary. Looks like those are all the same. So very useful when you're writing papers to know, where the thesaurus is. Real quickly, trying to look up better words. A couple other things. When you have misspelled words, it'll usually underline it. You just need to right click on it and it will give you what it thinks you're trying to spell. And sometimes you have a name of a person, for instance, that it doesn't recognize. You can always add that to dictionary. So for instance, Mount Sac, S-A-C, I usually, it didn't recognize at the beginning, so I added it to dictionary so it wouldn't always underline it. Customizing the quick access toolbar. Notice up here there's all these buttons that are by default, and sometimes you may want to add some stuff to this ribbon. So what you'll do is somewhere up here you'll right click, and not in the title bars, it'll have to be somewhere in the gray area of the ribbon. If you right click, it says Customize Quick Access Toolbar or Customize Ribbon. So the Quick Access Toolbar, if you notice there's a few buttons up here on the top. If you want a button to always appear on the top, and so you don't have to look through the tabs, you can put any button up there that you want so it's always up there for quick reference. But you can also customize the ribbon. So let's try this. So right click on the gray area, customize the ribbon, and you'll notice over on the right, by default, there's a developer tab that's not shown. So go ahead and click on that and press OK. And now you'll notice there's a developer tab. And this is more advanced stuff. We will be using these macros in Excel, but not here. So you can add buttons, you can add different things. So for instance, under my Review tab, I have this button that says Check Accessibility that I've added. And if you have buttons you want to add, you can right click, customize the ribbon, go to, and find the command that you want, and then just move it over into the field that you want it to be in, or the tab that you want it to be in. All right, a couple other things that you would be good to know. Sometimes the format is really messed up. You get a file and somebody's really gone to town on it. Maybe they just pick some, cute font and it's hard to look at. Perhaps, it's just something. Oops, let me highlight this again. And it's, it's changed way more than it should be. You can easily highlight all of that you can, don't right click on it. So you can highlight it, and under styles, you don't have to click on anything. It'll just bring up this little pop-up box. Under styles, there's this one button that says clear formatting. If you clear the formatting, it makes it go back to the default. Now, it did not unhighlight it. That's not a format, so it stayed. So that would have to be manually cleared. So I use that all the time. You know, if I just want to start over, there's just too many changes made. You know, bold, italicize, large. All you got to do is put your mouse, highlight it, put your mouse over it, and clear the formatting. That button is also right here in the Home tab. And that's it for this video.